Alright guys, so I've been requested to do a video on Game of Thrones and Stoicism, two of my favorite things in the world. And I'm going to go through Game of Thrones and try and find out what is the best example of Stoicism in the series. So let's get into it.
Don't fight in the north or the south. Fight every battle, everywhere, always, in your mind. Everyone is your enemy. Everyone is your friend. Every possible series of events is happening all at once. Live that way, and nothing will surprise you. Everything that happens will be something that you've seen before.
Now, a lot of people online have been referring to this quote as an example of Stoicism. I don't completely agree with this claim, but I do see where people are making the parallels. Littlefinger's quote sounds like a letter that Seneca wrote to a friend. Now, Seneca wrote, "Nothing happens to the wise man against his expectation, nor do all things turn out for him as he wished but as he reckoned, and above all he reckoned that something could block his plans." The difference between Littlefinger and Seneca is that Seneca, when he's giving this advice, is to help us engage in the exercise of negative visualization, to think of all possible outcomes that could happen so that if something negative does happen, we're not as hurt by it, we're not as surprised by it. Littlefinger, on the other hand, is giving some sort of cryptic quote to Sansa about his power, about gaining power and manipulation. It's not the same thing, and I don't think it's the best example of Stoicism.
And Lady Stark is not your mother, making you the bastard. Let me give you some advice, bastard. Never forget what you are. The rest of the world will not. Wear it like armor, and it can never be used to hurt you.
Tyrion just gave Jon Snow some incredibly stoic advice here. He told Jon Snow to turn his adversities upside down and to use his title of bastard as body armor, which is basically the benchmark of Stoicism, the ability to turn adversities into strengths. Now, Marcus Aurelius said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." The ability to change our perception of the events that happen in our life is what Stoicism is all about. The ability to turn these adversities into strengths. Jon Snow could just be depressed. He could just be sad about where he came from, about who he is, or he could use it as a strength, see the positives from the situation, see that it has shaped him and has made him more hard, more ready for war. Same thing with Tyrion. Tyrion could also complain about being an imp, but he could also take the positive side and see how it has forced him to challenge himself in other ways. What he lacks for physically, he's adapted for mentally. And that's how we should approach our lives. When bad things happen, we should see what we can do about it and see the positives.
Believe she will allow you to take the black and live out your days on the wall with your brother and your bastard son.
You think my life is some precious thing to me? That I would trade my honor for a few more years of what? Of war? You grew up with actors. You learned their craft and you learnt it well. But I grew up with soldiers. I learned how to die a long time ago.
Perhaps the truest test of our Stoicism comes when we're nearing our own death, and Eddard Stark just displayed a very stoic mindset in regards to his. He said that, "You think my life is some sort of precious thing to me," indicating that he was not willing to exchange his own virtue for the sake of a couple more years. Stoics always had a neutral approach to death. They didn't see death as a bad thing, but as a necessary thing. A big pillar of Stoicism is this idea of living in accordance with nature. Now, death is perhaps one of the most natural things that could happen to us, so the Stoics didn't have a problem with it. They understood the transience of the world. They understood how everything in life has a cycle, everything has a beginning and an end, so they were more focused on living in the moment than death. Now, Marcus Aurelius said, "A man cannot live well if he knows not how to die well." You cannot truly live well in the moment if you have not accepted the idea or the fact that you will die. Once you've learned how to die well, you can focus on coming to the moment and worrying about death when it comes. Okay, Okay, so those are my top takes of Stoicism in Game of Thrones. If you know any other scenes, please comment them down below. I'm gone. I'm off to King's Landing. Peace.